Today's finally the day, guys. I get some really bad natural light coming in here. The window here. Today is finally the day we get to take apart the PS3 and start our first episode of Tech Wave. So I have the PS3 right here. Like I said, it does not read games. I think what we'll do first is once we get it apart to the drive, we'll go ahead and fix that. And then we'll get down to the motherboard and check it out. So I guess let me move the camera, we'll get started right now. Hope you guys can see everything from there okay. I had to move the camera so it was kind of overhead so you can see everything. I'll change the camera view if you need to at times. But I'm gonna get started. We'll open this PS3 up and see what we have. It's pretty easy to open a PS3, to be honest, to get in there at first. You just have to, there's a little cork over here. And the whole top part is just held on by this one screw that's in here. There's a Torx 10 on the side. I don't have my ratchet right now. I think I left that at the one store, but I only need it for this one part. I don't need it for anything else. So I just use a pair of pliers and then I can use my mitts to unscrew it the rest of the way. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut out any of the boring parts. So if I have to unscrew like 20 screws in a row, I'll make sure you guys don't have to sit here and watch that forever because that can get kind of boring. Alright, and then what's cool is the top just kind of slides over like this, and it comes right up. So, what I usually do is throw that lid to the side, flip it over, and I just keep that for all my parts. And what I'm going to do is unscrew a couple of screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws. Okay, there's a lot of dust in here. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to take this over, vacuum it out, and then bring it back and take the lid off then. I don't want to leave a lot of dust on the table, so give me a minute. So I just went ahead and took it apart and vacuumed just out from the top. There's a lot of dust in here, and a lot of time, guys, if your fan is really loud on your PS3, sometimes all you have to do is lift this lid up and just vacuum underneath, and it'll actually fix that. So, but take the lid off, and so here we go. This is the disk drive here. This is where when you put the game in, it goes in and it reads it. This is the power supply, and a little back here is a little Wi-Fi antenna. So the plan here is we need to see what's going on with this disk drive. And a lot of times the easiest way to do that is I could just take it apart real quick. Now we will have to unscrew the power supply first because it actually sits over a ribbon cable. All right, let's take this little power supply off. And again, guys, it's gonna be kind of dusty. Don't worry about it. These systems literally like suck up dust. That's pretty much their job, is to suck up dust, because the way the fan's situated, it actually pulls fan out, it actually pulls air out, and it pulls air in through the front. So of course dust and stuff go with it. So if you see a lot of dust here, it's not a big deal. They all get really dusty. And I'll clean it out and everything before I finish putting it together. But alright, so with that out, we can get to this little antenna, this little ribbon cable here. The antenna runs down through here as well, but I just want to get this out so we can do a little work to the disk drive very quickly. So I just took all the screws out of the bottom of the drive, and we should actually be able to flip it over and pull the top part off now, like that. Awesome. And we are now into the drive. I can actually plug it back in at this point because I don't need to get to the bottom right now to check out the laser. And that's pretty much what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick look at the laser just to see if that is the problem. So at this point, I can actually plug everything back in and we can turn it on how it is now. Unfortunately, I don't really need to see the screen because we can pretty much tell right away if it's going to take a game in and play it. This is Dark Souls. And you see how it kind of spun up there for a minute, then it stopped, now it spins up again, and it stops again. You kind of see it by this magnet moving. What that's telling us is that the laser in there is having a really hard time reading this disc. Usually what it does is you put it in and it'll spin up and you'll actually hear it kind of make a vroom sound while it spins up, and this will spin the entire time. So it looks like the laser is having a problem. I have a harder time, it takes longer for me, I have a harder time actually aligning the top lid as opposed to replacing the laser. So this is the thing giving us a problem right here, this little guy. And it's just not reading correctly. So I think, looking at this now, I think I have this laser. Let me check real quick. So I actually have this entire drive, the entire thing, and I could easily just flip it over, pull the board out, and change it that way, but that would be boring, and you guys probably don't want to see that. So what I figure I would do is I would see how long it takes me to change the laser from here, and I have one out of that drive. I'm pretty sure it's good, but we can find out real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see how long it takes me to change this laser. So let's take a shot real quick. So the way it works, it actually runs up and down this worm arm right here. That's what I call it anyway, a little worm arm. And that actually moves, and that's how the laser actually travels back and forth along these greased rails. Go. And that's pretty much it. Let it just change the laser. So it does not take long after you've done it as many times as I have. It's very quick, actually. So hopefully this laser works. I'm almost positive it does. I've had it for a little while now, so hopefully it works. And you can see I just snapped it in there and it runs along the worm arm no problem. So this is the part I was talking about. Getting this to align correctly can be a real pain sometimes. So, but let's try it out real quick. All right, there we go. But let's see if it works now. I'm hoping it does. I'm hoping that laser's good. It got Dark Souls right here. So let's see. And it should do is come in and it should start spinning up right away, and it should stay spinning. Yep. All right, so that laser works fine. So the system's fixed now. It reads games. So that's good. I'm gonna screw these in real quick on the sides, and I'll put this drive together later. All I gotta do is put the lid on and it's ready. But that's pretty much what happens when a system would come in and I would have to change the laser and fix it because it wasn't reading. At the time, the Blu-ray lasers were really expensive. Now they're pretty cheap, so it's pretty easy to fix, guys. Alright, well, let's get to the motherboard now, the fun part. Alright, so I just quickly took the power supply and the drive back off to how we were before. So all I need to do now, the way the PS3 works, also has a battery that keeps time. It's actually right here. It's like how a laptop has a CMOS battery. It's just sometimes it's stuck in there pretty well. There we go. And this is the Wi-Fi antenna here. The Bluetooth antenna that syncs controllers and stuff like that is right here. They're these two black kind of looking squares from your angle. And this one is for RF for controllers and stuff, Bluetooth for example. This is for Wi-Fi. And it's literally just kind of a plug-in cable that's screwed in. This antenna here actually does the same. It actually runs, this ribbon cable runs from the antenna here, this whole board that also does USB ports, runs straight over to this motherboard here. I forgot, we also have the hard drive that needs to come out. Good thing I didn't try to take the motherboard out with the hard drive in. That would have been bad. You can actually see it from your point of view here. It's like a little sled. There we go. Alright, and fan cable here. The fan sits underneath. You'll see the heatsink soon. All I'm going to do now, I'll probably cut this out, is unscrew all of these outside screws all the way around. So I'm going to do that now, and we should be able to pull the motherboard out then. Okay, so now this whole thing should come up, and we should get a good look at the motherboard. Yes, it's a little dirty. There's dust on it. Not a big deal. This will actually... Let me get this cage out of the way. It's actually sitting on top of it. There we go. Nothing at this point is holding the motherboard down except for probably thermal paste underneath. So all I need to do is carefully just kind of pull up on it and it will snap out like that. And we actually have our motherboard. So very quickly before we look at that, this is how it cools itself. You might be able to, yeah, there we go, okay, good. The heatsink here and here, actually there's thermal compound. It's not super wet anymore. It's kind of dry. And these are two big blocks basically underneath, and what those do is they cool and run straight to the fan underneath. There's a massive turbine fan here. Actually, I realize I should probably clean it anyway, so I'll take this out and... okay, so this is the way it works. You have these two big aluminum blocks. Basically, these cool the CPU and the GPU. Then you have a large turbine-like fan here. It pulls air from here, so it pulls air in on the front. This spins and then pushes air out the back. So it kind of comes in through here, this is attached to it, and then runs down in front of here, and this just pushes air constantly through it and cools the entire system. So what happens is when the air comes in here, it'll shoot through here. This entire thing is like an air tunnel, and it'll just pull air out, that's all. Okay guys, so this is the motherboard. There's two chips, big chips obviously. This is the GPU, this is the RSX chip, this is the cell chip. Then you have a SATA and power control chip here. Got like a moist little heatsink pad on it, and this is technically called the South Bridge. So that controls, like I said, the You can actually see the CPU runs to it. This controls a lot of system operations, including SATA, syncing your controllers, things like that, networking. And you'll see here, this is where the GPU is. It actually runs up through here. This chip here, the silicon chip, actually controls HDMI out. So what it does is it actually takes all the images and colors and stuff, converts it to one basic data that the GPU can understand, runs down through here. GPU makes sense of it, runs to the CPU, which makes calls to that. There is RAM here and here. That's for the CPU, that's the system memory. So should be two 128. Actually, no, there's 4. Okay, so there's 4 64 meg RAM chips, and that obviously comes with 256 on the system side. Under this heat spreader right here, which we're about to do, I don't see a lot of people doing this, but I'll do it for you guys so you can check it out. We're going to delid both of these. That way you can see what the die on the cell looks like, and you can see the RAM and the die that's on top of that RSX chip that I was talking about. So let me get one of my tools that I kind of made for this. It's kind of a special tool that I kind of fabricated, and it will let us do this. So the way I do this, I have a tool here, and it actually is an exhaust gauge. It's an exhaust feeler gauge, and that actually lets me get underneath the chips, because the way these are held down, they're both sealed to it. There's actually like a glue around the edges here, and that keeps this down, and this has basically cement on all 4 RAM chips that keeps that down. So what I do is I use this, I kind of work my way on one side and then cut all the way around. It's kind of dangerous. If you haven't done it before, I don't recommend if you get to this stage to do this. But it definitely helps for things like loud fans, because underneath here there's compound that is super dry. So I'm going to start that now. I'll probably cut some of this out because it takes me a little while and I have to kind of play with it sometimes to get it going. But we'll see how well it kind of goes in. I usually find a good corner that lets me in, essentially, and I kind of work a way around. You can actually see I'm actually in pretty well on this side. Like I said, it's kind of a pain to work with, but eventually it works out pretty well, so I'm going to keep working around it. Okay, so I cut it. You can actually see, let me see if I can get a closer up on that. Yep, so that's the cell. This is the actual die here for that 8-core CPU that they put into it. And you can see that big window there on that die. That's actually area that was not touching the heat spreader. So that's definitely going to be hot, and the fan was probably loud on this guy. I didn't ask or even check, but more than likely the fan did get loud on it. So replacing this compound would fix that. Usually what I do is I clean this up with like a piece of plastic, like spudger or something you use on a cell phone. So, but let's check out the RSX now. This one I have a feeling I can get actually on camera. It'll be pretty funny. What I do is on this side here, there's a nice gap, there's no components. Kind of slide it in here. I take a flathead like this, kind of wedge it there and just pop it. Like that. All that did was break the cement that was holding it down. And this is our RSX chip. So you can actually see this is the die here. This one actually looked pretty good, although it is very dry. But these are the four RAM chips that I was talking about here. Now you can see there's these 4 here. That's actually 64 megs on each corner, and that's the full 256 that I was saying that's divided for the system RAM. So the PS3 did not have a unified pool, much like the 360 did. The PS3 has RAM chips here on this side with the CPU, then it has RAM chips here specifically for the GPU, and those are not shared. Those stay only for each system, each chip, basically. I'm sure there were tricks that developers used to fix that and make it so you could use each one, but for the most part, these were just split up and you could not share them. And there's not much going on in the back, to be honest, nothing really. Capacitors, stuff like that, nothing big. The big stuff's on this side. So guys, what I'll probably do now is I'll probably clean all this up, put it together, check it out again to make sure everything's still good. Everything looks fine, and like I said, the actual chips should work fine after that, and they'll actually run a lot cooler because I'll replace the compound. I usually scrape all this off, also the white cement that they put on there. And then usually I don't cement it back down, I just leave it free floating and it's fine. And guys, that's pretty much the PS3. Hope you had a lot of fun looking at this system. It was pretty cool to do. Like I said, I usually don't do a lot of these from kind of up above, angled down. I'll do some more work to try to make it a little better, but I hope you guys enjoyed seeing an inside look at the PS3 and what it does exactly and how it works. Thought it was a lot of fun to take it apart for you guys, and I don't think a lot of people, like I said, delid either one of these, so hope you guys had a lot of fun looking at the RSX and the cell chip. thought it was kind of neat. So I'll figure out what to do next. Maybe we'll do like I said, I have a Super Nintendo we can do. A lot of people are talking about sending stuff to me, so I don't mind doing really anything. And maybe next time I'll get something a little, maybe something newer. It's pretty dusty and stuff now, so I hope that wasn't an issue for some of you guys. But definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Comment below, let me know what you think of the format. If it can get better, that's fine. I'm always open to constructive criticism. And tonight we have the award show, and I'll see you guys probably after that. I'll probably film just talking about what was at the award show, so I'll see you then.